Bill sat at his desk, looking out his office window. There were a lot of thoughts running through his head, most of them not very happy, although perhaps one of them was pleasant. Let me describe myself. My name is Bill Garrett. I'm 37 years old, 6'1" and 185 pounds. I am married to a wonderful woman named Jennifer. We call her Jen. She's a gorgeous brunette, 5'7", 130 pounds, 36 cup breasts, and a figure that can stop traffic in the streets. We have a child, a daughter named Alicia. She is 14 years old. And this is just one of the things that occupies my thoughts. I am a co-owner of a company that develops software. We mainly create software and applications for specific purposes. Our team consists of talented developers, designers, and project managers who work every day to turn ideas into reality. Now we are interested in the largest software company on the market, which has offered to buy our business. This proposal came like a bolt from the blue. We have long been striving to expand and go international, but we were not sure that we could cope with such a scale on our own. Now we are faced with a choice: accept the offer and allow our work to become part of a global corporation, or continue to develop the company on our own, risking remaining among the industry giants. Bill felt pressure from all sides. On the one hand, the proposal meant financial stability and new opportunities for his family. Jen had always supported him in his business decisions, but Bill knew this change would affect every aspect of their lives. Alicia, his daughter, already had an interest in technology and might have enjoyed working for a big company, but he didn't want her to lose touch with what they were building together. He remembered the long nights spent developing early prototypes, the doubts and moments of triumph when their applications began to take off. Every achievement was the result of collective effort and personal sacrifice. Now that the opportunity to be part of something bigger was on the horizon, Bill couldn't decide if he was ready to part with what he had created. There was silence in the office, broken only by the sounds of the city outside the window and the occasional phone ringing. Bill rose from his chair and headed to the window, looking at the lights of the metropolis. The thought of the proposal was still spinning in my head. He needed to discuss this with his partners and family, weigh the pros and cons. Deep down, he knew that any decision would change the course of his life and the lives of his loved ones forever. There are two envelopes on my desk. Envelope No. One is white, large, and contains a check for $25 million and shares of this large company worth $40 million. My partner, Hank Estes, came into the office to discuss this proposal. Bill, I think we should accept this deal. What do you think about this? I don't know, Hank. I'm having problems at home, and I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. When Hank and I started this company, we structured it so that on paper we were simply employees. Hank was the CEO and I was the coup. Hank handled all the legal issues and contracts, and I handled the technical aspects and software development. After 10 minutes of discussion, I said, Hank, if I sell my share, it will need to be protected from one specific person. I agree to sell, but I want the money to be transferred to a shell company and placed in offshore accounts, and all shares to be registered in this company. If you can agree on this with MS, I will sign. Bill, I'll talk to them. I think everything will work out. And what are your plans after signing? Are you going to work for them for a year, as they ask? Yes, Hank, I'll work for a year, but not for the huge salary they offer. I'm willing to work for $100,000 a year, but if we achieve all our goals, I want $1 million bonus. I'll tell them this, Bill. I think we'll arrange everything. Hank is a master of his craft, especially in legal matters and negotiations. I don't know exactly how he organized our business, but I'm sure he'll sort it out. Now I turned my attention to the second envelope and laid out its contents on the table. Looking out the window again, I noticed that the city was bustling with life. Here in Naples, Florida, the streets are always busy. My thoughts wandered back to October. Cold morning days were already beginning to give way to warmer autumn evenings, when the leaves of the trees turned golden and crimson shades. My wife, Jen, works at a local television station where she is an assistant director of programming. Her professionalism and creativity allowed her to work closely with our best friend, David Wilson. David is the charismatic co-host of a popular morning talk show that airs daily from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Despite waking up early and having a busy schedule, he maintains a positive attitude and ease of communication with the audience. David is 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs about 200 pounds, and doesn't play much sports, preferring more relaxed activities in his free time. Every weekend, David and I have a duel on the golf course, which has become a tradition for us and a great way to take a break from the hustle and bustle of the city. His wife, Betty, is a real red-haired beauty, standing 5 feet 2 inches tall. Her bright locks and infectious smile always attract attention, and her kindness and caring for her family make her irresistible. How he managed to marry such a woman, I still don't understand. He is clearly lucky because they create a strong and harmonious family. They have a son, Ben, who is now 9 years old. Little Ben is an energetic and inquisitive boy who enjoys playing sports and being with friends. These people play an important role in our lives, and memories of autumn days spent together always make me smile and feel grateful for friendship and family ties. We have experienced many moments together, from joyful holidays to supportive conversations during difficult times. Such relationships strengthen our bond and make every meeting special. On the eve of the winter holidays, I especially appreciate these moments of togetherness and hope that many more happy days together await us ahead. So, back to my story. It was in October, Halloween to be exact. The TV station where Jen and David work has a Halloween party every year, and we usually go to it. This year, I warned Jen that I would be delayed while working on selling the company. I said I might be several hours late. She replied that it was no problem and asked me to come as soon as I could. "Hank, how long do you think we'll be here? I need to go to Jen's party." "Go, Bill, I'll finish everything myself." I left around 6:30 p.m. and tried to call Jen on her cell phone, but the call went straight to voicemail. I realized that she had probably turned it off because the party was noisy and she simply wouldn't hear the bell. I knew Jen and David were already there since they had been working at the station all day, so I decided to call Betty, which is quite usual for us. We often call each other because our families are friends. We have dinner together, dance, and spend the weekend barbecuing. I dialed the number. "Betty, have you already left for the party?" "No, not yet, Bill. I'm finishing my makeup." "Come on, Betty. You don't need makeup. You always look great." "Thank you, Bill. You're so sweet, even though it's not true." I heard her sweet laugh. "I'm not lying, Betty. You're always great, and that's why I'm calling. I'm not far from your house, and there's no point in driving two cars. Do you want me to give you a ride?" "That would be great, Bill. Are you sure this won't cause any inconvenience?" "Not at all. I'll be with you in 5 minutes." We arrived at the party and sat down at the table. At first, I didn't notice our spouses. But soon, out of the corner of my eye, I saw them. They were dancing together. Before I told Betty where they were, I noticed that they were dancing too close, closer than usual. I noticed Jen's arms were around David's neck and his hands were resting on her hips. A dubious sight, isn't it? David leaned towards her ear, whispered something, and Jen laughed, looking into his eyes. He tried to kiss her, but Jen turned her head away before their lips touched. That's when our eyes met. Jen immediately pulled away from David and ran to our table. "Bill, I'm so glad you came. Dance with me." She took my hand and we started dancing. She pressed herself against me and I whispered, "Jen, it looks like I should have come a little later." "You were having such a good time." He held you so close, as if I had interrupted something important. "Don't be stupid, Bill. We always dance together. What's the big deal?" I didn't say anything else that night, and David danced only with Betty until the very end. Later, at home, Jen came out of the bathroom completely naked. She knelt down and gave me one of the most passionate pleasures of my life. But a few minutes later, already lying in bed, she began to caress me again. Very quickly, I was ready to fight again. "Damn, Jen, you're just a goddess." Sitting down on all fours, she whispered, "Take me, Bill. Want you. Hard. Make me yours." I gave in to her desire, We rested for only half an hour and then started all over again. In total, we had sex 5 times that night. It was an amazing night, but I couldn't stop wondering what could have triggered it. On Monday morning, sitting in the office, my thoughts were busy with the dance, that night, all these events. And then a new fear gripped me. Was Jen cheating on me? I picked up the phone in my office. Winston Investments Agency, how can I help you? Get me James Winston, please. The secretary asked, who can I connect him with, sir? This is Bill Garrett. A little about my relationship with James Winston. He needed software and applications for his investigations, and I helped him install the necessary applications on his phones and computer programs. Bill, how are you, my friend? Honestly, I'm not sure I'm okay. I may need your help. What happened, Bill? You sound upset. James, I think Jen might be sleeping with another man. Wow, Bill, that doesn't sound like her at all. How can I help? Could you put someone to keep an eye on her? Money is not a problem. I'm sorry to hear that, Bill. I will handle this myself so that everything is as confidential as possible. As for payment, we'll discuss it later. Perhaps I'll need another application soon. November 7th, Jen arrives at the TV channel at 7 a.m. David is just about to enter the set when he notices Jen. Good morning, Jen. Are we still going to lunch? I don't know, David. You know I love Bill and I can't lose him. Are you sure you want to do this? Oh yes, Jen. I'm so excited and the sight of you turns me on so much. Yes, David, the thought of something on the side is exciting. But this should not be long, and we must be careful. I would never want to hurt Bill. Me too, honey. I would never want to hurt Betty. Then, first of all, David, no more kind words. We must be careful in our behavior. You're right, Jen. At lunchtime, Jen and David left work, drove to Marco Island, about 15 miles from their home, and had lunch at a small cafe. At the table, they held hands, laughed, kissed, and then left. They checked into the shoreside motel, not the best in town, but not shabby either. In the room, David and Jen came face to face. David kissed Jennifer, her lips parted, and David slid his tongue inside, to which she responded with a passionate kiss. Jen, you are so beautiful and sensual. The couple quickly undressed and found themselves on the bed. Honey, do me a favor, David asked with a smile. Jen, feeling confident, began to caress him. An intimacy developed between them, and this brought them even closer. After a while, David whispered, You're so skilled, Jen. Her skillful actions aroused his admiration. Half an hour later, he was ready to continue again. Jen felt inspired, even though the preparation was minimal. They decided to move on to the next stage, enjoying every moment together. David was a little impatient during the process, but Jen tried to maintain the rhythm and find pleasure in what was happening. Everything okay, Jen? Didn't I hurt you? He asked worriedly. No, it's okay, she replied softly, smiling. Their togetherness filled the room with warmth, despite minor awkwardness. The main thing is that both were happy from the closeness and trust in each other. Jen tried to push him away. David, get off me. I need to take a shower and get home. Inside, Jen furiously rubbed her body, trying to wash away the guilt. It wasn't nearly as good as with Bill, but she'd never known anyone but him before. She smiled slightly, thinking it was exciting, and the thought of cheating was exciting. November 8th, the next morning. Bill, this is James Winston. Looks like you were right. I followed them to the shoreside hotel. They stayed there for 2 hours. I have pictures of them coming in and out, and a couple of pictures of them kissing, but no pictures or videos of sex. I thought that something was happening or was about to begin. Thanks for finding this, James. I would like to have more evidence, video and audio of their sex. Bill, I can try, but I will need written permission from you to install recording devices on your home phone and the app you made for me on her cell phone. James, you have my permission. And by the way, could you install cameras in my house? Yes, Bill, I can do it. I'm sure you never dreamed that the app you made for me would one day be used against you or your wife. Sorry, Bill. It's not your fault, James. You have nothing to apologize for. Thank you for your help, my friend. Bill hangs up. November 15th. Jen sees David in the hallway outside his office. Jen, will we meet again today? I don't know, David. If we meet, I don't think we should go back to the motel. Our spouses may see credit card expenses. Yes, you're right, Jen, but I still want you, and soon. We need to come up with something. Just thinking about you, and I already want to. Yes, David, I see. You've got a little campground in your pants. Jen laughs quietly as she walks away. Later that morning, Jen calls David after his talk show ends. David, I know we can't go back to the motel, and we can't go to your house because Betty and Ben are there. But maybe if we leave for lunch tomorrow, we can come over to my house for a few hours. Sounds great, Jen. I love the idea of being with you in your marital bed. That won't happen, David. If we do this at my house, it will only be in the guest bedroom. Damn, Jen, you're trying to kill all the excitement. David laughs. It's not funny, David. If you want this, you will have to follow certain rules. Okay, Jen, then we agreed on tomorrow. Certainly. That afternoon, Bill leaves work and meets James at his home to set up cameras and recording equipment. So, Bill, we installed cameras in all the bedrooms, the living room, the master bathroom, the dining room, and the kitchen. The phone is tapped, and this is an app for Jen's phone. You know how to install it. Of course I know how to install it. Damn, I created it myself. But why are we putting cameras in the master bathroom and kitchen? Well, Bill, they'll probably shower together after sex. And, you know, most conversations happen either in bed or at the dinner table. Good idea, James. I would never have thought about it. November 16th, Tuesday. Jen and David leave work for lunch. Meeting at Jen's house, they drive into the garage. David, we should leave the cars here so no one can see them. We don't need rumors from neighbors. Jen leads David from the garage to the dining room. What would you like for lunch, David? You are the only thing I want to taste, Jen. Let's go to your bedroom. I already told you, David, this won't happen. If we do this, it will only be in the guest bedroom. Jen pours herself a glass of wine to calm her nerves and leads David into the guest bedroom. As soon as they enter the room, David hugs Jen, kisses her passionately, and says, Jen, you're so sexy. Jen drinks the wine and puts the glass on the bedside table. Now, David, what did you say you wanted for lunch? Quickly shedding her clothes, Jen lies down on the bed, stretching out her long legs. Damn, Jen, you look amazing. David touches her arm gently, then gently runs his fingers over her shoulder, feeling the warmth of her skin. He looks into her eyes, full of anticipation and passion, and smiles. Jen feels a slight thrill run through her body. His touches, so soft and confident, seem to electrify the air between them. You're so beautiful, David whispers, moving closer to her face. His lips softly touch her cheek, sliding to the corner of her lips. Jen closes her eyes, enjoying the moment. David, hugging her tenderly, slides his hands over her waist, feeling her breathing become a little deeper. He presses closer, his kisses moving to her neck. Jen laughs when he whispers something quiet and playful. You're incredible, he says, moving back just a little to look at her and gently brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Jen, feeling her heart beat faster, puts her hands on his shoulders. They slowly reach out to each other, dissolving in the warmth of the embrace. Exhausted, he falls on her, crushing her with his body. Jen again thinks that things didn't go as they planned. She once again wishes that David would be as good in bed as he is at giving pleasure. And then a dirty thought pops into her head. What if Bill has good sex with her, and then David gives her pleasure? The next weekend, Bill was left home alone while Jen and Alicia went shopping. James had already set up video and audio recording equipment so Bill could check it out for himself. Bill watched the video first. With a broken heart, He realized that his marriage was falling apart at the seams. Bill was sure that it was all over, but he had to act carefully and patiently so that the court would not leave him without everything. After watching the video, Bill decided to check the audio recordings. Thursday, November 17th. Hello, oh hi, David. Hey Jen, how are you, baby? I'm fine, David, but please don't call me those names. This is the right of only my husband. Come on, dear, you know how good we are together. Jen, I love you. David, I already said that I love only my husband. This was a mistake, and we need to stop immediately. Jennifer, I didn't mean anything bad. I don't want to lose you. Can we meet at your house again on Monday? I need to feel you one more time, Jen. No, David, that's all. Jen, you can't be serious. You know you want me again. Why don't we do it again on Monday, but this time in your bedroom? No way, David. Like I said, it's just Bill and me. Well, if you want real love in this bed, you need to let me do it. David, it was a mistake. As for true love, that's something only Bill can give me, not you. Bill is a much better lover. Yes, then why did you sleep with me? David, I don't even know what to say. Maybe it was something new, something I thought would be exciting. But it will never happen again. I need to make amends to my husband. Jennifer, I don't want to stop. If you try, I'll tell Bill everything. David, you're an idiot. If you tell Bill, he will most likely kill you. And if she doesn't kill, then she will leave me, and I will kill you. So what if Betty finds out? So don't ever threaten me again, asshole. Jennifer hung up. It will be hard. I need to be patient, play the role of the best husband. I sat down and thought about the next step. Bank accounts, pension fund, credit cards, investments. And the most important thing is the sale of my company. Later that evening, Jen and Alicia returned home. Jen reminded me of her parents' Thanksgiving. We alternated holidays between our families. This year, Thanksgiving was her parents' and Christmas was mine. This will be a tough day to put on a good face. I tried my best to play my role, but sometimes I wasn't very good at it. When Jen asked, "What's wrong, honey? Are you angry with me?" I brushed it off, referring to problems at work. Jen didn't know that I was a co-owner of the company. She thought I was an ordinary employee. I wish I could say that I stopped being intimate with her completely, but to be honest, Jen was too beautiful and an amazing pleasure. She has never allowed me to have other types of sex with her, but now I will try to do it more often. Thanksgiving was a sad day. I spent most of the day sitting on the couch with her father. We watched football, and I hardly spoke. I ate little, not because of the food her mother is a great cook, but because I realized that the precious things in my life were coming to an end. On the way back, Alicia slept in the back seat. My wife asked, "Is everything all right, Bill? What are you thinking? Did something happen?" "Oh, I don't know, Jen. Are we okay? Is there anything I need to know about?" "I think not, honey," I said quietly. "Well, as you say." "What did you say, Bill?" "Nothing, Jen. I'm just thinking out loud." That night, when we got home, I decided to take a shower. I climbed under the water, soaped myself up, when suddenly Jen came in. "Can I come to you, Bill?" "I'm finishing now, Jen. The water is still hot. I'll come out, and you can come in." "Bill, I wanted to take a shower with you, and if you don't mind, I'd like to try something special tonight." "Not today, dear. Just not in the mood, maybe another time." After getting out of the shower and drying off, Bill put on his pajamas, which was a rarity for him, and went to bed. Jennifer barely managed to sleep that night. Over the next 2 weeks, there were only 4 calls from David, 2 asking to meet again, 1 to discuss problems between him and Betty, and 1 to me asking why we hadn't played golf in so long. "Bill, buddy, we haven't played golf in a long time. The weather is great now. Maybe we can play this weekend." "I don't know, David. We'll see." After thinking for a couple of minutes while David continued to talk on the phone, I thought that I should try to act normal, as if nothing was happening. Although you understand how difficult it was. "Okay, David, maybe we'll play on Saturday. What do you say about starting at 9? "Great, Bill. See you later." We had a good game on Saturday morning. I won by a small margin, and we had an interesting conversation. Jennifer was not mentioned in it. Betty was discussed. As it turned out, she was in a bad mood, didn't pay attention to him, and David was worried if she was cheating on him. I thought, that would be nice. David, I don't think Betty is cheating on you. This doesn't look like her. Cheaters are low people, and I can't imagine Betty being like that. David's face turned red. I didn't know if it was from shame, fear, or anger, but it was noticeable. Yes, I know, Bill. She's a good person. I just don't understand what's going on in her mind. Please don't mention this to her. Okay, David, I'm free this week. Do you want me to have lunch with her and try to figure something out? No, Bill, no need. Although, you can have lunch with her, but please don't mention our conversation. Okay, David, this will stay between us. The following week, on December 15th, Bill called Betty. Hello, Bill. How are you? I'm fine, Beauty. How are you? Oh, Bill, you're making me blush. Betty, I'm calling to say I have the week off and to ask if you'd like to have lunch. We haven't gotten together for a long time. Of course, Bill, I would be glad. Ben is at school and I have nothing else to do, so I'd love to have lunch with a nice man. Then it's agreed, Betty. See you at noon. Bye, Beauty. They had a pleasant dinner and conversation, which began with a discussion of the children, then touched upon Bill's work, but he noticed that Betty had become silent and thoughtful. Is everything okay, Betty? I'm not sure, Bill. I think David cheated on me. Bill, if you knew, would you tell me? Betty, if I find out something, I'll tell you. But I can't imagine anyone cheating on you. Why would anyone trade the most beautiful woman in the world for something less? Oh, Bill, you're just saying that. No, Betty, I hope you believe me. I am a very faithful husband and have never cheated or even thought about it. The only woman I've ever looked at that way besides Jennifer is you. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to flirt. Betty put her hand on his arm. Bill, I didn't take it that way. You are very sweet, thank you. That night at home, Jennifer cooked dinner. Entering the house, Bill admitted to himself that he needed to act normal. Something smells very tasty, Jen. What's for dinner? Meatloaf, honey. How was your day? Bill came up behind Jennifer and kissed her neck. Jen got goosebumps. It always turned her on. Maybe tonight she can make things right. Later that night, Bill went upstairs to shower. Jen was already in the shower and changed into sexy nightwear. Bill walked into the bedroom, wrapped only in a towel. You look amazing today, Jen. And you, Bill, why don't you go to bed and let me do something indecent with you? The evening turned out to be surprisingly quiet and peaceful. The wind rustled softly outside the windows, occasionally tapping the glass with thin branches, and it seemed that it was carefully inviting you to an intimate conversation. The house was in semi-darkness. The soft light of the table lamp sliding along the walls highlighted the outlines of their figures and gave a special intimacy to what was happening. Jen and Bill were alone with themselves, with their own thoughts and feelings, willing to listen and understand each other without further ado. They sat on a soft carpet at a low table on which there were cups of still warm tea. Their marriage was still fresh. They had recently returned from their honeymoon, which had left them with unforgettable memories. But now, in these calm moments, they felt ready to go further, to explore new horizons of intimacy and trust. There was no tension or fear between them, on the contrary. Every touch, every look, every breath was filled with warmth and understanding. Jen, gathering her thoughts, looked into Bill's eyes. Her voice sounded a little lower and softer than usual, as if reflecting her inner concentration and delicacy of the moment. Bill, remember when you once shared your secret desires with me? I've thought about this for a long time, and now I feel like I'm ready to try. I want to give you something special. I want to make our union even deeper and stronger. We can try if you still want. Jen's voice was full of trust and sincerity. She felt no compulsion or responsibilities, only interest and the desire to give joy to her loved one. Bill listened to her carefully, restraining his excitement and answering her with a look full of tenderness. It was important for him to know that in this step they would both be equal, that their intimacy was a dialogue, not a monologue. He wanted to be sure that Jen was doing this consciously, without embarrassment or fear, but only with trust in him. "Jen," he said in a quiet, deep voice, touching her hand gently, "I remember what we talked about. I remember the way you looked at me when I first mentioned it. You were surprised, but did not judge, accepted my interest, and allowed me to be myself. I am grateful to you for your patience and for giving us the opportunity to move forward together. I don't want to rush and make you feel uncomfortable. Let's discover it gradually, listening to each other." Slowly and carefully, they began to move closer to each other, even closer, but without haste. Their touches were smooth, like the preparatory strokes of an artist before creating a painting. Every note of their voices sounded caring and respectful, and every gesture spoke of the fact that it was not the experiment itself that was important, but mutual agreement, sincerity of intentions, and the ability to hear. Bill, with a soft smile on his face, moved next to Jen, took her hands in his, and felt them tremble slightly with exciting anticipation. He knew that it would take time for her to get used to the new sensations, for her curiosity and trust to overcome any awkwardness. He decided to act patiently, stopping every time to make sure Jen was comfortable. She closed her eyes, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, trying to catch that thin thread that connected them emotionally and physically. Words were not so important now. What was more important was the feeling of mutual support, the ability to talk about what was wanted and what was not wanted. When there is a strong foundation of love and respect between two people, they can embark on a journey together where every step is imbued with trust. Minute by minute, Jen and Bill, who had recently been embarrassed by the very thought of such an experience, now felt their connection deepen. They learned not to be afraid to admit their thoughts to each other. They learned to hear each other. Light music, barely discernible against the background of quiet rustles, accompanied them, creating a warm, almost weightless atmosphere of comfort around them. At the end of that evening, when their experiments were completed, they sat together for a long time, hugging each other and feeling support and tenderness in each other. Neither of them felt awkward or ashamed. On the contrary, the feeling that they had become even closer became stronger between them. They learned to talk about their deepest desires, learned to trust their feelings and each other, and this was much more important than any wild fantasy. That evening, they took an important step forward, revealing a new layer of their union filled with understanding, caring attitude, and a willingness to listen to each other with their hearts. On December 22nd, Jen and David had a company Christmas party at the network station where Jen and David work, and all the employees exchanged gifts with each other. What Jennifer hated was the practice of re-gifting, which seemed to happen every year. So Jen and David had a plan. They would find out who got their names and then trade with them to exchange gifts with each other. This is what they have been doing for years. My unusual thing at Christmas was that since I was a child, I would sneak and open my presents to find out what the gifts were. I know it sounds crazy, and this took away all the surprise. I think Jen's guilt made her buy me a special watch this year, Rolex from Grant Jewelry. On the back was engraved, "Bill, I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Jen." I knew John Grant very well, and I also wrote some software for him, so getting the service was not a problem. Christmas morning. Our daughter gets up early and opens gifts. We share gifts with each other, but save two for later, I tell Jen. The one she has for me and the special one I have for her. We'll open them in our bedroom if you don't mind, Jen. Upstairs, sitting on our bed, I take the gift from Jen and give her the gift from me. I open mine as she opens hers. She looks at me confused, looking at her gift, its pictures and DVD, and what kind of papers they are. Then, looking at mine as I open the box and take out the fountain pen, Jen's face scrunches up in confusion. "It's not the gift I gave you, it's what happened to the watch." "I don't know, Jennifer. Maybe you gave it to the same person you have sex to. That was supposed to be mine only. Why would you cheat on me, Jen? I thought you loved me more than this." "Bill, I never cheated on you. Why do you say that?" "Jen, before you lie to me again, look at your gift. I think the photographs and DVDs tell a different story." Jennifer burst into tears. I'm so sorry, Bill. It didn't mean anything. I don't know how it happened. Well, Jennifer, it happened, and I don't want to hear that it didn't mean anything. It meant everything to me. 9 am at the Wilson family home. The gifts were already unpacked, breakfast was on the table, and suddenly the doorbell rang. Betty opened the door and saw a special courier. Delivery for David and Betty Wilson. Betty thanked the delivery man, wished him a Merry Christmas, and closed the door. What's there, Betty? Gifts from Bill and Jen, she replied. While unpacking his gifts, David looked at his watch and, making the mistake of reading the engraving out loud, David, I love you and can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Love, Jen. Betty looked at her gift. There were pictures of her husband making love to the beautiful Jennifer and a DVD. John Grant helped me find a new caseback for my Rolex watch and engraved it. This was his service to me. Betty grabbed her full breakfast plate and threw it in David's face. Damn you, David. I'm filing for divorce. Pack your things and get out of my house, you bastard. On Christmas Day, Alicia and I went to my parents' house for dinner, while Jen stayed home. I explained to my mom that Jen wasn't feeling well. My daughter was furious at what her mother did. The day after Christmas, I called Betty. One thing I forgot to mention is that Betty and I already had a dinner where we discussed this. I reminded her then that if I found out that David was cheating on her, I would tell her everything. So the gift that came to her home was not a surprise. Moreover, it was her idea. She's so smart. How are you, Betty? I heard her sobbing. Oh, Bill, I'm holding on as best I can. Listen, dear, I know how hard it is for you, and remember, I'm always here. Can we have dinner today? I have a request to ask of you, and I cannot ask anyone else. Yes, Bill, I would love to have dinner. I just sit and stare at these walls. I need to unwind. Then dinner is at 7 p.m. I'll pick you up, Betty. I'll be ready. We had a great dinner in a very beautiful and romantic Italian restaurant. You said that you had a request for me. How can I help, Bill? Betty, the company that bought us out, is throwing a New Year's dinner and party. I have no one to go with, and I would never invite Jen. Would you agree to come with me? There will be a nice dinner, dancing, and, of course, free drinks, I said, laughing. They will also provide us with a room for the night so that no one gets behind the wheel after drinking. I'll make sure you have your own room. I hope you agree. I would feel uncomfortable going alone, but with you, the most beautiful woman in the world, it would be an honor. After these words, I smiled. Betty lowered her head and then raised it with a wide smile. Bill, I'd love to go to a party with you, and I'll be with the most handsome man in the room. I drove her home, and as she was about to get out of the car, Betty leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. I took her chin and kissed her softly on the lips. I'll pick you up on New Year's Eve, Betty. The party was wonderful. A wonderful dinner, a wonderful dance partner, so soft and beautiful. At midnight, I gave Betty the most passionate kiss of my life. Looking at me after that kiss, Betty simply said, Bill, I hope you understand that we will only need one room, dear. I want you to take me to our room and make love to me. In the room we kissed and made love all night. Betty turned out to be just as good at petting as Jen, although she had never had to deal with a size as large as mine. It took her a little time to get used to my size, and I, of course, enjoyed her saying that she had never dealt with a size this big and such a good one. I don't know where our relationship will take us or what will happen to our marriages, but I know for sure that I want more Betty. I want her to be mine. Now, the most important thing for me is my daughter. I'll take care of her and Betty. My money and stocks are secure, so the prospect of divorce no longer seems so scary to me. Jen makes almost as much as I do, at least that's what it looks like on paper. If Alicia decides to stay with her dad, maybe I won't come out of this so bad. Only time will tell. But this is another story, another chapter of my life. Waking up on the morning of January 1st in a cozy hotel room, I felt a slight chill running through my skin, reminding me of the onset of a new year. The light filtered softly through the translucent curtains, creating a warm atmosphere in the room. Betty slept next to me, her calm breathing sounding quiet and measured, filling the space with a feeling of peace. I watched her carefully as she lay in bed and noticed that the blanket was only partially covering her. Her graceful leg peeked out from under the coverlet to mid-thigh, as if inviting tenderness. The left breast was bare, emphasizing her natural beauty and grace. There was a radiant, joyful smile on her face that spoke of serenity and happiness. The lips looked a little swollen, which could indicate that we had spent a few passionate minutes together, perhaps enjoying long kisses or sharing moments of intimacy where she actively pleasured me. These moments will probably remain in my memory for the rest of my life. The picture of our last session of love around 3 o'clock in the morning. At that moment, everything around disappeared, leaving only the two of us in an ocean of emotions and mutual understanding. Betty's warm arms wrapped around me. Her touch was gentle and confident, creating a feeling of security and love. Coming back to the present, I looked back at the sleeping beauty next to me. Betty began to slowly wake up, stretched and looked at me with her bright, sparkling eyes. She looked especially attractive at this moment. Her red hair was disheveled across the pillow, giving her a casual and natural look. She had a sexy smile on her face that reflected her inner joy and satisfaction. Her breasts emphasized femininity and sexuality, and her smooth and slender legs added grace to her figure. All this made her even more beautiful, creating the image of an ideal woman with whom it was a pleasure to share the most intimate moments of life. I felt my heart fill with warmth and gratitude for having such a wonderful and beautiful girl next to me. We sat in silence, enjoying the morning calm and each other. Harmony and comfort reigned around us, and thoughts about the past nighttime only strengthened the feeling of closeness and unity. I knew this day would be the start of something new and important for both of us, and I looked forward to what the future would bring. I looked at her and said, "Good morning, dear." "Good morning, handsome," she replied. I leaned over and kissed her again. She smiled and said, "Bill, can we take a walk in the park today and talk? What should we do next?" "About what exactly, dear?" "About your wife and my husband, Bill. About our marriages." "I don't know what I want to do yet, Betty." "Let's just think and discuss a little, and a walk in the park sounds good. It's a beautiful day, and I'll be with a beautiful woman, so I'll definitely enjoy it." "Thank you, Bill," Betty said, gave me a long kiss, and we got dressed to go for a walk. Holding each other's hands, we walked along the path through the park, watching people and birds. I noticed the sad expression on her face and asked, "What happened, Betty?" "Oh, I don't know, Bill. It's all so confusing. How much our lives have changed over the past few months. It's not our fault, Betty. They did it, not us." "I know, but can I ask you a few questions? And you can ask me anything." "Ask, Princess." "I like it when you call me that." "Okay, I'll start. Bill, what are you planning to do with her? What's wrong with me? Do you still love her? What are your feelings for me?" "Betty, I still don't know what to do in the end. We have a child together and we're married for 16 years. I still love her, but at the same time I am very angry and hurt. Sometimes I hate her. As for you, I have always had feelings for you, not just because of your beauty. You are a wonderful woman, probably my best friend now. As for my feelings for you, I love you, but I can't explain it yet. Bill, if nothing had happened between our spouses, would you have done this to me?" "No, I think I wouldn't, and you wouldn't do it either. It's not in our hearts or in our character, Betty. This is one of the things I love about you." "Okay, Bill. Now the big question is, will we continue what we started, or will we just see where it leads?" "Well, Princess, I know what I want, but first I need to know what's in your heart." "Bill, I always liked you. I was passionate about you. I would never try anything because of our families and our friendships. But now that I've been with you, I don't want to let you go." "I feel the same way, darling. We don't have to go home until tomorrow, so let's go back to our room and get to know each other even better." She hit me on the shoulder and said, "Catch up. Throughout that day and that night we made tender, slow, passionate love. Lots of affectionate touching and kissing, and then she cried because we had to leave and go home. After I dropped her off at her house, I went to my place to see my daughter and, yes, meet my cheating wife. As soon as I entered the house, I was bombarded with questions. Where have you been the last few days? Did you sleep with her? Are you going to leave me? Then she burst into tears, begging me to try to fix everything and claiming that she did not want a divorce. I don't have to explain anything to you. But in case you're wondering, I was at a New Year's party thrown by the new owners of the company, and I don't know yet whether we will get a divorce. But if anyone leaves, it will be you, your unfaithful ass. Having said the last phrase, I noticed how Jen flinched. You didn't answer. Did you sleep with her? First of all, Jen, who exactly are you talking about? And considering that you were the one who broke our vows and promised to be faithful, why do you even think you have the right to ask such questions? I have the right because I'm still your wife, and this is Betty we're talking about. I know she hasn't been home for a few days either. And how do you know that she wasn't there, Jen? David called and we talked. He said he thought she was with you. Did he just call, or did you meet somewhere, Jen? No, Bill, I didn't meet him, and no, he didn't just call. Jen, I'll ask you a question, and you better not lie. Did that bastard come here? Jen didn't answer for several minutes. She just sobbed and wiped away her tears. Damn it, bitch, answer the damn question. Yes, Bill, he came here for a short time, but I swear nothing happened. Lying rubbish, because that's exactly what you said in our wedding vows. Bill, I swear it's true. Honey, I made him sit on the chair and even called Alicia to come down. She sat next to me while he was here. Now Alicia knows about all our problems, right, Jen? Bill, your daughter is smarter than you think. She already knew everything. I hope she's smarter than her mother. If this is so, then when she has a good husband, she will be smart enough not to run after other men. I knew that my words hurt her because she burst into tears even more, and then asked again in a quiet, soft voice. Bill, did you sleep with her? Yes, Jen, asleep. Jen burst into tears and ran into the bedroom. And yes, I felt like a scoundrel. Later that evening, I called Betty and told her everything had been revealed. She replied that she didn't care if I didn't care and that she didn't want to stop. I said I want her more than ever, but we need to be careful and come up with a plan to deal with our spouses and marriages. Betty turned out to be a very smart woman. She came up with a great plan that we would discuss with our spouses. And if they don't like it, that's their problem, as she said. We had an advantage, and I didn't even realize it until she explained everything. Betty also turned out to be quite insightful, and I would never want to get in her way. The next morning, I prepared breakfast. Alicia and I ate, and she left for school just as Jen came down the stairs. Kissing her mother goodbye, Alicia ran out the door. Can we talk, Bill? Of course. Jen, speak up. Would you like something to eat? Maybe coffee? Coffee, please. Thanks, Bill. Please, dear. Bill, you just called me darling. Do you still love me? Jennifer, I never stopped loving you. I am angry at you, sometimes I even hate you, for what you have done to our family and our relationship. You changed our marriage. Our love is no longer ours alone. Every time I think about touching you, I imagine him having sex with you. Jen, I'm not the same person I used to be. I'm not sure we'll succeed, and I don't think I want to give up Betty. Please, Bill, let's try to stay together. I'll do anything, honey. All. Jen, I asked you not to communicate with David, but you answered his call and let him into our house, knowing that this was against my wishes. Why do you think I can trust you again? Darling, I'll do everything, as I said, everything, Bill. I didn't go to work that day. Jen went but came back early, saying she wanted to stay with me and talk some more. I told her that we didn't have much to talk about. Bill, I'm going to take a shower. Can I use the shower in our bedroom? Please, dear. Of course, Jen, go. After about 5 minutes, I decided I could take advantage of this, so I went into the bathroom and asked her if she had found the towels. Yes, Bill, I have towels. She was silent for a few seconds and then asked, Bill, please join me, honey. I undressed and went into the shower. She immediately started doing what she had always been great at. Jen tried her best that day. After the shower, we went to the bedroom where we had passionate sex. And then she started asking questions again. Is she better than me, Bill? Do you love her more than me? How can we fix all this? Jen, I can't say she's better. She's just different. She is more passionate, and I think I have awakened the desire and fire in her. I love her, but I can't say I love her more. I will never love anyone as much as I once loved you. What do you mean, once loved? Well, Jen, you almost killed that love. But maybe we can make things better if we try enough and you try too. I'll do anything, Bill, anything. Okay, mark your words. Later that evening, Betty called and said that her plan was coming to fruition and we would start today. We discussed our roles. We agreed that we would have dinner at her house to work out the details. I told Jennifer about this, but she was suspicious. I reminded her of her promise to do her best and told her that we needed to face problems before we could overcome them. David was furious, but Betty told him he had no choice. He had to be polite to me, otherwise I would leak the video and photos to the press, and David and Jennifer would lose their jobs and ruin their reputations. David will lose his transfer, Betty will divorce him, and he will have to pay for the mortgage, alimony, and child support. How will he do this without work? David lowered his head and said, I understand. That dinner was amazing. Betty looked chic in her short black dress, which barely reached mid-thigh and fell seductively off her shoulders. The dress was strapless. She wore black lace panties underneath. I knew this because every time she sat next to me, she made a point of showing them off, making it clear that she was doing it on purpose, even in David's presence. We sat like this. David was at one end of a long rectangular table, Jennifer was at the other, and Betty and I were next to each other. The conversation was solely between me and Betty. David and Jennifer sat in silence, with downcast eyes. After dinner, Betty asked me to fix everyone's drinks and laughingly added, Make David and Jennifer a double shot. I think they'll need it, honey. We moved into the living room and tried to make ourselves as comfortable as possible under such conditions. Betty began. Okay, let's start by saying that if you have any questions, ask them now, because when Bill and I start discussing the new changes, we can't be interrupted. David asked the first question, What changes? And the only thing I want to know is, did you sleep with Bill? Betty replied, I'll tell you about all the changes a little later. And yes, David, I slept with Bill. I interjected, Let me be clear, we weren't just sleeping. We made love. Betty looked at me and said, You're right, honey. We did more than just sleep. It was passionate, crazy love. David jumped up, clenched his fists, and shouted that I was a scumbag for sleeping with his wife. Jennifer just sat there and cried. I just smiled. Betty stood in front of David and told him to sit down and shut up. Then she turned to Jen. Do you have any questions, Jen? No. Watching this red-haired, energetic woman made me feel excited. She has changed. She was once timid and shy, but now she is confident and strong. God, how I loved her. Betty continued, Okay, that's what we decided. David, let's start with us. You have a great career and you don't want to lose it. This is not profitable for you. How will you pay alimony, mortgage, and support children if you lose your job? Any questions? David asked, Are you going to divorce me? Betty replied, Bill, honey, make them another stiff drink, please. Of course, dear, I'm on my way. I left for a few minutes, came back with the drinks, and served them. Seeing that David had already had too much, I still said, Here, buddy, watching him grimace. So, David, to answer your question, we don't have to get a divorce, but it's up to you. If you don't agree, your videos and photos will be broadcast on a TV channel, will be all over the news, you will lose your job, and so will Jennifer. And I will divorce you, and you will remain bankrupt and under threat of lawsuits for non-payment of alimony. Okay, Betty, what must I do to agree to your demands? Betty came and knelt in front of him. David, you can stay in this house. You won't have to rent an apartment. It will save you money. I'm moving in with Bill. Remember, David, it was you and Jennifer who opened Pandora's box. You started it. My and Ben's things are already packed and in Bill's garage, and by evening they will be in our bedroom closet. David, please try to be positive about this. Now you can go after all the women you want, but I belong to Bill. After what you and Jen did, Bill and I spent New Year's Eve together, and we fell in love. We would never have done this if it weren't for you and Jen's affair, so we don't feel guilty about it. And I'm sorry you have to hear this, but David, Bill is much better and bigger than you in bed. I won't be able to enjoy you anymore, so I hope you understand that nothing will work between us anymore. Please find someone who makes you happy, but it can't be Jennifer. We will not accept this. Jennifer jumped up and screamed. We'll never be together again, so don't even think about it, you little bastard. It's all your fault for seducing me. Bill turned to Jennifer. It's not all his fault. You're just as guilty as he is, so sit down and shut your mouth. Your turn will come. Jen sat up, frowning. Betty started talking again. All I can say is I'm sorry if you're hurt, but you did this to yourself. You literally pushed us towards each other with your romance. Now the hard part, David, is I can't wear it anymore. Betty took off her wedding rings and handed them to David. He sat there with tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, David, but we can't just go back. Betty looked at Bill. The word is up to you, honey. Jen, you've already heard that this is all on your conscience. Betty is moving in with me, but because of our daughter, I'm not asking you to leave. However, you will have to accept the role of Betty. Jen nodded her head. Jen, I never stopped loving you, and I don't want to put you through a divorce. You have the same options as David. You can accept or lose your career, reputation, and family. But your situation is better. You won't have to pay alimony, since we earn about the same. And I think Alicia will stay with me. Any questions? Do you know how much I still love you, Bill? I think I do, Jen, but I wish you loved me enough not to do what you did. And now I hope that you love me enough to do what we ask. I love you, Bill, and I will do anything you say, even if it means losing you. Now, Jen, I'm sorry, but I never thought in this life I'd ask for this. I want our wedding rings back. Jen cried as she gave away her rings. I put them in my pocket, then asked Betty to come to me. She stood in front of me, and I took a box from another pocket, knelt down, and said, Darling, I know that we cannot be husband and wife, but you will be mine. Will you wear my rings? Yes, yes, Bill. I love you, Bill. Fine. Jennifer, if it's okay, Betty would like to speak with you privately to discuss boundaries. David, can I make you another stiff drink? Maybe you want to discuss something with me. Fuck you, Bill. This is still my home, and I know where the booze is. I have nothing to say to you, asshole. David went to pour himself a drink, and Betty took Jen's hand and led her into the bedroom for a private conversation. As they passed by, I gave Betty what she had asked me earlier. All this confused me even more. In the bedroom, Jen was still crying, and Betty hugged her. Jennifer, it's not as bad as it seems right now, honey. No, it's just that bad, Betty. He loves you, not me. I lost the only man I ever loved. I'm not a wife anymore. It's not that bad, Jen. Betty grabbed her chin and forced her to look into her eyes. Look at me, Jen, and listen very carefully. David has never been a good lover. I always used a sex toy when he fell asleep. I have fantasies that I've never told anyone about, not even Bill. She continued her story, and their relationship took on a completely different shade. Jennifer looked at Betty in shock as she admitted. Sometimes when I fantasized, I thought about Bill, but most often I thought about someone else. Betty gently touched her cheek with her fingers, moved closer, and suddenly kissed Jennifer on the lips. Jen was shocked, but instantly felt excited. She couldn't resist the passionate kiss. When the kiss broke, Betty looked into Jennifer's eyes. I've always dreamed of being with a woman, Jen. Most of my fantasies were about you. I want you to become a part of our life, part of our bed. Not only my mistress, but Bill's wife and my wife. Betty took out the ring that Bill had previously taken from Jennifer from her pocket. Jen, if you let me put this ring on your finger, you will become my wife. When we get out of here, you can show it to Bill. If he agrees and returns your wedding bracelet, you will become our common bride. Jennifer was crying, but there were tears of joy on her face. She raised her hand and almost shouted, "Please put it on me, Betty." Betty smiled and put the ring on her finger. After that, they again merged in a passionate kiss. Suddenly, Betty lifted Jennifer's skirt and, standing behind it, took hold of her panties. "Betty, what are you doing?" Jen whispered. "Sweetheart, it's our wedding night, and I'm going to enjoy my new wife." "Jennifer, I've been dreaming about this for a long time." Jen blushed, but admitted, "I had an affair with a girl in college, and since then I have dreamed about it again. But Bill has always been my ideal lover." "He is perfect," Betty agreed, "but remember one thing." "What exactly?" "This sweet girl belongs to me now. I can let our husband borrow it, but it's mine." Jen laughed. "Yes, my dear wife." About half an hour later, they left the bedroom, both with sly smiles. Approaching Bill, Betty was the first to whisper something in his ear. They spoke quietly, after which Bill looked at Jennifer. His face was serious as he motioned her to the seat in front of him. "Come here now." Jen started to get nervous, not knowing what to expect. She wanted to say something, but Bill put his finger to her lips. "Quiet, Jennifer. I have a question for you. Will you become mine and Betty's wife?" Jennifer couldn't contain her emotions. "Oh yes, honey, yes, I will become your wife. Please take me home and to bed. I need both of you. Make me yours again. I love you, Bill." I took them both home that night. We had an incredible wedding night. Next week, we are going on our honeymoon. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.